Colleagues, I rise today very conflicted. Over the past several months, I have diligently watched and listened to the people from all across the spectrum of beliefs on how we should handle this addiction crisis. I have often found myself in deep thought of how did we get here, and why are we rushing again to find a solution to a decades-old problem? Those reflections reinforced my belief that the road to recovery is long and requires a shared commitment to compassion, patience, and collective action. While I have been listening, like so many, I have a very personal connection to this topic. Unfortunately, I know deeply the long-lasting impacts of what it is like to have a father who chooses the baggie or the bottle over being a parent, a father who returns your diapers for cash so he can score, a father who steals your grandpa's car for a weekend-long binge, and a father who left me wondering, am I not good enough? Am I the reason that he uses? I have not seen this man since I was 8 years old. And for years, I grappled with the whys and what ifs. It wasn't until my own journey through addiction that led to a clear realization. Society has failed to develop a culture of care and a deep understanding of why one falls into addiction. And when it comes to addiction, I'm a firm believer that this is a public health crisis, and this is a disease. No one chooses to become an addict. You are running away from trauma from your life, and you are running away from pain. So yes, I rise today very conflicted because I know that passing this bill can do great things. But I also know that it does not get to the root cause of why someone falls into addiction in the first place. And honestly, it scares so many people. As a mother, my every action is driven by a desire to forge a better future for them and for all generations to come. I spent time listening to the views of some high schoolers and college students and was shocked to hear that in their view, the smart adults made hard drugs easy to obtain, so they must be safe. One comment then has stuck with me: why would I risk the higher penalties of drinking vodka when I can just have Molly or cocaine where there are really no consequences, and they're easier to buy? With our children's mental health at an all-time low, too few counselors to support them, and the introduction of fentanyl, which is cheaper and more deadly than anything, it is tragic but unsurprising that we're seeing a dramatic spike in youth overdose. So I can be supportive of this bill because it represents a comprehensive approach to youth drug prevention, targeting the heart of the issue with educational initiatives and robust support systems. We are investing in curriculum enhancements and social media campaigns to warn of the dangers of synthetic opioids, establishing a dedicated position within the Department of Education to spearhead youth substance use prevention efforts. I can also support this bill because I am someone who believes that sometimes, the threat of jail is exactly what someone needs to hit rock bottom. I know that it is not the only tool and should not be the first option, but it can be a tool. It can be a tool as long as we couple it with treatment and recovery. I can't stress enough how absolutely imperative it is that we have treatment available while in jail. For many years, my family watched my stepbrother battle his addiction. My stepbrother's journey through addiction involved numerous attempts at detoxing and treatment, yet the longest time he remained clean was the 13 months he spent in jail. But that did not come very easy for him. While there, he suffered from the lack of addiction treatment and mental health services. He was finally released to my stepdad on December 22nd, and that was the last time he saw him alive. On Christmas Day, my stepdad received the call every parent has nightmares about. My stepbrother had overdosed from a fentanyl-laced pill that he thought was Adderall and passed. It is because of this that I can support this bill, because medically assisted treatment and conditional discharges to inpatient and outpatient treatment. Had my stepbrother been a part of a community of individuals on similar paths with access to the necessary support to address his addiction, whether inside or outside of incarceration, his story might have ended differently. House Bill 4002 moves us towards this vision, introducing the Oregon Jail-Based Medications for Opioid Use Disorder grant program, overseen by the Criminal Justice Commission. This initiative will allocate grants to cities, counties, and federally recognized tribes operating correctional facilities, enhancing treatment accessibility for incarcerated individuals in Oregon. I want to echo and uplift the concerns about the racial disparities and the lack of clear commitments from our county partners. I will have faith and hope in my district and county to hold up their end of the bargain, but I would be remiss if I didn't state that I am nervous that we don't have measures to hold everyone accountable, and that we need to have a collective and unified approach to defeat addiction. It is within this context of seeking tangible solutions and fostering accountability that I made it a priority to go on a ride-along with the Oregon City Police Department to see the challenges they're facing firsthand and how they're dealing with them. And I'm so glad that I did that. The OCPD, leveraging the lived experience of its officers, has prioritized treating individuals with addiction with empathy and humanity, forging ties and relationships with the community. This approach has not only facilitated the building of meaningful relationships within the community, but has also underscored the potential for effective partnership between law enforcement and health services. During my ride-along, we drove through the city observing areas notorious for drug dealing, places marked by tragic overdoses, and the neighborhoods witnessing a surge in drug trafficking, and surprisingly, they're the ones you'd least expect. While on this tour, a drug-related call redirected our course to an assisted living center. There, housekeepers had stumbled upon a suspicious bag in a resident's room and promptly alerted the authorities. Upon our arrival, we were informed of the situation and directed to the resident's room. Greeted warmly, the residents invited us in. Upon noticing the substance and asking about it, he denied it. However, when directly confronted, the resident admitted to it being meth, explaining that he went to do his laundry down the street and by chance someone offered him $20 for a baggie, and he said, "Why not?" When questioned about why he bought this man, a wheelchair user in his late 60s with an amputated leg, said, "Look at me. I don't have much to live for. I'm in pain, and I'm stuck in here. So what if I want to escape?" The testing confirmed that the meth contained fentanyl, a detail that startled this resident who was unaware of this drug. The officer's cautionary words, "One hit can kill you," and this man's response broke me. Maybe that wouldn't have been the worst thing. I wanted to tell this story to highlight two things. First, older adults are left out of these conversations far too often, and I believe that their struggles with mental health and addiction deserve to be addressed. Second, I want to underscore that this man did not have to give up his drugs. He did so voluntarily because of the personal connection the officer built with him. Near the end of this ride-along, we passed an apartment complex marked by a recent tragedy. A father who was 6 years clean had gotten into a minor accident, broke his nose, and was unable to afford the treatment or pain medication. While his 9-year-old child slept, he sought out pain medication from his own and took a pill he believed to be Oxycontin. Tragically, the pill was laced with fentanyl, and he fatally overdosed, leaving his young child to make that heart-wrenching call to 911. These experiences reminded me that the complex ongoing battle against addiction does require a criminal justice system that fosters a culture of care and prioritizes support and rehabilitation, and it can be done. Colleagues, these stories are unfortunately not unique, and we will continue to fail society if we do not truly acknowledge the root causes of addiction. We must allow space to create a safety net for when an addict fails, to remind them they matter, to remind them of the joys of life, and to remind them that together we will fight this. Without investments in housing, all forms of healthcare, workforce, and education, I'm concerned that we will be in the same place we are today in 10 years. Friends, colleagues, relatives, with all that I have shared with you, I hope that you can accept my vulnerability and understand that I am supporting this bill for my father, for my stepbrother, for my stepfather, for the 9-year-old daughter who will forever remember the image of her father's lifeless body, and for the man in the assisted living center who doesn't seem to value his life, and for all the families in the state of Oregon that have lost someone to this disease. I know that it is not perfect and it is scary for some people, but I promise you all this. I will be following this closely, and I am dedicated to making sure that we are all held accountable in this fight to defeat addiction. Thank you.